This is the Lydia and Spin with the Lydia Lunch and Tim Doll. Rainy night in Brooklyn. Tim, I'm loving it. I love the
Yeah,
rain.
it's been such a dry summer and fall. We kind of need it, but
The
this is
dryness
it.
wakes me up, and I don't even have heat. I don't turn the heat on in my apartment. I'm like,
Well, well, there you go. But the last couple of days has been it's kind of like a kind of a tropical thing. I mean, it's like 60 fucking
kind of
degrees
springy.
out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of springish.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It's like late March kind of vibe,
Well, they
early
say a
April.
bomb cyclone is coming up the coast, but I don't, I think we'll be spared once more. I don't know. Not sure. Spared
Um,
of it.
so let's see. Well, I got a few stories. Of course, we're going to talk about the shooter at some point. But
Just briefly,
Rosalind Walker, 80, she was killed by one of these sleep number adjustable beds. It went
what?
not, yeah. I guess the thing kind of went bonkers, like
When it collapsed, it shut her in.
maximum overdrive. I don't know. It pinned her. I don't get it. I think it went vertical, like a Murphy bed. I think like pinned her against the wall for 2 days. She couldn't
I
get
worked
out.
on a kid about that. I mean, I have a ghost mattress, and I have to say, ever since I got it, I've been having highly erotic dreams. I'm not the only one. It's
Well,
bizarre. I ghosts of sex past. I have no idea.
speaking of like autoeroticism,
Oh, let's.
um, Texas Representative Hillary Hickland,
Oh, I heard about it.
is trying to
Go
she's trying to pass a bill that basically bans sex toys from stores like Walmart. I didn't realize they sold things those there,
exactly. I can
but
buy
but
online. Go ahead.
but yeah, but and it's
Limited.
making it illegal to have more than six dildos.
Why
So
is six a magic number? You've only got three holes.
I don't even know where that
Three or five
I know where
between
that
the two.
comes from, but I'll
I
say
mean,
this.
I guess it's a good thing I don't live in Texas.
Well, it's again some right wing hypocrisy. It's sort of like
Oh, boy.
they're anti big government unless it benefits what they want to push through,
Well, again, I
and this is
think
like
It's anti-threesome because six means that that's a full set, as Lydia said, for two people.
it
So
might
you would
flop a
need
lot.
nine or more if you wanted to go into threesome and orgy zone.
a good, very good
Well,
insight, Simon.
as
Very good
Tim
insight.
Walz, unfortunately, who lost, said, yeah, they want to make government so small it fits in your bedroom. Hey, get out of my anus, all right? Get out of my
Well,
anus, get out of my uterus.
hey, well, the thing is, Texas brags about having no regulations. You can do anything, but have more than six dildos. That's
Fuck
so.
what you want when you want
I
with who
know.
you want, and
I
then,
know.
abort it when necessary, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really stupid. And of course, Mitch McConnell was on Twitter or X or whatever. He was like, "We're in a very, very dangerous world right now." Yeah, thanks, buddy. You're part of it. You're one reason why we are. Fucking
Ah, well,
asshole.
danger, danger. You take away my toys, you're going to be in trouble. I'm just saying. What are you
Uh,
going to have to do? Get ghost dildos? You're going to have to make your own now?
yeah,
I
well,
got a ghost
yes.
mattress. Now I need a ghost dildo? Jesus Christ, where's this going?
Well, that ghost silencer from
Yeah,
Mangione. I
it is.
wonder if he's. You think
I
that?
wake up chortling, chuckling, and moaning. I like waking myself up with these erotic
Yeah, I
dissertations.
wonder if Mangione is related to Chuck Mangione, the flugelhorn player. I don't know,
I
but
doubt it, but I'm glad you brought this up because I have to say I had to do some investigation. But by the way, did you hear about the posters that are up on Canal Street in New York City?
I have not.
Wanted posters of top healthcare executives popping up on Canal
Whoa.
Street, warning leaders of the rising threats. So Canal Street is very busy, and
Sure,
so
sure,
the
sure.
flanked with red and black words: wanted, denying medical care for corporate profit. Healthcare CEO should not feel safe. Deny, defend, oppose. Which, by the way, same things that were scratched on the bullets
Right.
that Luigi Mangione used to take out one of the biggest criminals in the healthcare industry. And it's a reference to a book by Jane Feynman titled Delay, Defend, Deny: Why
Mm-hmm.
Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. Now, one thing I can relate to Mr. Mangione on a few things, other than he did go to school in Pennsylvania. I went there to not have to go to school, but is that he supposedly suffered from extreme back pain. Now, I live in a lot of back pain too, but I decided it wasn't going to make me bitch. I can't say it made me less violent, but and here is, I did dig out, thank you very much, some
Yes.
of his manifesto, which I'd like to recite right here. He had a very good reading list as well. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder. The US has the number one most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancies. United, which is the guy he shot was the head of it. United is the largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart, and it has grown and grown. But as our life expectancy, no. The reality is, these indecipherable, I'll just say motherfuckers, have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument, but many have illuminated the corruption and greed decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Now,
wow. Ooh.
I mean, I have to say, you know, I'm all for turning the White House into the big house. I think all these, I mean, I don't have health insurance. I can't afford it. If I wait till I go to Europe to get anything checked out, because I just can't, who can afford? And the thing is, then, okay, according to a study by Kaiser Family Foundation, 60% of the respondents in a survey said they experienced problems when trying to actually use the insurance they pay for.
Of course.
Which includes insurance companies refusing to even pay for their care. And United is the biggest for denials at double the average claim.
It's not a business. Businesses are meant to make money.
Well, and you know what? Exactly why they don't want and have been trying to strike down any kind of Obamacare. I don't even know if that's a good thing. Look, all the other industrialized countries have, and we certainly have the money to do this, care for people that are sick without bankrupting them. So this is a freaking issue. And the thing is, hello, Trump, the ass clown from outer space. By the way, the drones flying over his golf course in New Jersey, maybe one will just beam him up, Scotty, and him and the other clown he likes hanging around with will just go to Mars eventually from the drones that they don't know what they are flying all over. And I just want to get back to United for 1 minute.
Yes, please.
Because their profit was more than $16 billion.
Oh my God.
Profit. After average people paid out $32 billion. They still made $16 billion. So, hello, all I'm saying.
There's another argument, which is what is the difference between Mangione, who killed someone with a gun, and killing someone from behind a desk with really bad policy?
Killing millions, killing and suffering and torturing, a lot of the American population.
Absolutely.
Killers.
Eye for an eye. This doesn't even equate at this point.
Well, and then of course you have, one vigilante who got off because he fucking killed a poor mentally ill person in the subway, and then you have another vigilante who killed a rich person. And
discuss that for a minute. That was like so many cops, and he had been in the military. Excessive force. However, have you been on a train when there's a mentally ill person?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Well, did anybody step in to help? Probably not.
I mean, I just try to avoid that, but there was
definitely to avoid it. This is New York City, and the thing is, most crime has gone down, but subway slashing, subway pushing,
last year,
and the lack of mental health care is a freaking problem. And no, nobody should be choked out by an ex-military or cop. But I mean, where are the cops when you need them anyway?
Well, what's interesting is there's cameras in the subway stations, but not in the subways, and that's why a lot of people go there. And then that's something to do with MTA and private something. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't in the courtroom. I don't know all the details. I'm just saying, vigilantism, which I don't really endorse.
Well,
but
I think, look, there's an uprising. There always has been, and the thing is, it's just who gets the attention for doing it. There are so many shootings, killings every day. Who gets the attention for doing it? This is another issue. So hello.
Yeah.
I can't sort out who gets the attention, but the thing is, this country is out of control, and so are many other countries, and you got to learn to live with it. So you just got to be aware at all times. And whatever you do, people, do not have your freaking cell phones out on the subway platform, on the street. Be aware. Not that is even going to save you from a maniac, but whatever.
Yeah, no, pay attention. I mean, going back to the insurance thing, I mean, the big propaganda that they've kind of spread, and morons fucking believe this, is that somehow like some kind of socialized healthcare, like the government's going to say, oh, your grandmother should die because we're not paying for it. Guess who says that? The insurance companies. They're the ones that deny these things.
Doesn't want to do anything about it. The government.
Well, because they're paid by them. They're paid to win or lose. But
I mean, you know what? It's not going to change because deep pockets in Washington lead to deep bankrolls in all of these corrupt corporations.
So check this out. I'm sure you heard about Nancy Parker, the snitch at McDonald's that got Mangione busted. Of course, the whole internet community, I mean, they just honed in on who was that. And oh boy, she's getting death threats. She lost her job. Oh, and check this out. Because NYPD was offering $10,000 if someone gets him, and FBI was offering $50,000. She just called her local 911, and so now she's not going to get anything because she didn't call the right numbers. She lost her job and she's getting death threats. That that's a good question. That has not been reported. I know McDonald's fired her, and I don't.
Well,
there must be a protocol in such things.
Doesn't fire you, underpay you, kill you, or incarcerate you. I don't know what they do. Anybody who eats there, I'm sorry, Luigi. Really? Come on, son.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, I when going back to why she got fired, there must be a protocol with how you handle crime, or with McDonald's. She must have just overstepped some boundaries. Anyhow, Mangione, I guess he's going to jail for life. They're gonna make a example out of him. I mean,
yeah. Did you see his flummoxed lawyer just going, I don't see any evidence. Well, obviously you're blind. I don't see any evidence. You don't see any evidence. What are you talking about? The evidence is everywhere. And the thing is, the manifesto says it all. And the thing is, fan of Ted Kaczynski, well, I don't blame him. I mean, the thing is, target correctly if you're going to do a self-sacrificing act of violence. I mean, in my opinion, does violence solve anything? Well, it solved almost every political situation in this country. I'm not necessarily for it, but I'm just saying we are done great violence to by being underpaid, undertaken care of, and raped on every front. By now, it's going to be the complete billionaire class. So you might just see an uprise in people that just can't take it anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised. And then
the MAGAs, it might be the MATCAs. It might be.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's going to
be the sin cells, not the incels. Well, that's another thing with Luigi. Supposedly his back was in so much pain he could no longer have sex. I get it. And so there is a young, athletic person who had stuff done to him that didn't work and then probably overcharged, even though I think he comes from a wealthy family. It doesn't matter. It's just all bullshit. What are you going to do? You know what? I love life. I love my life. All I can say is all of this is just the same as it ever was and a complete outrage.
Yes, it is. And
that's why community is so important. That's why you know who your friends are, and you know what, because the enemy is an ever-present.
Well, his friends didn't rat him out. I mean, you think some of his friends didn't recognize him? Come on.
Well, maybe they're not as big of news junkies as we are. I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't think they wanted to rat him out. I think they talked about that. Yeah. I think they just were like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? I do hope, because the same assholes that are against any kind of gun control, which at least background checks, please, at least, come on, more guns than Americans. Who's against that and whose pockets are so deep with all this corruption? I would take freaking notice, because look, I've been mad my whole life. Come on, get with the program. Hello.
Well, I mean, so the NRA and the gun nuts.
Yeah, but it was a ghost gun, wasn't it? Like a 3D gun.
It was a ghost gun, but that's a big issue. Supreme Court and the rulings on these things. So get ready.
Simon, I said we need to invest in 3D printing, just for our guns and dildos. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's right. The underground dildo market. That's going to be like it's going to be the new cocaine in Texas.
Oh,
how many dildos do you want?
On the tip won't do anybody any harm. I'm just saying. Timothy, speaking about take the rage to the stage, we had a magnificent performance the other night.
Oh, that was fun.
Azumi, amazing Buto, very absolutely horrifying. Both the music satanic, the spoken word, obviously corrosive to corporations, and the Buto, which was brutally heartbreaking. People were crying, which as they should.
People were into it, and this past weekend there was a lot of competition. Thurston and Fred Frith and Mart Rev and all these people were playing, but people showed up for us and they dug it.
Yeah. I congratulate them for knowing where the real deal is, and thank you, seeing something different.
Yeah, and that was cool, and I was psyched to do it, and so that's satisfying. It made me, I'm just satisfied. I'm happy I did it. I did it with you guys.
Exactly.
What's that?
Me too.
Alex Ward.
Oh, Alex Ward was around. Oh, and we ended up at Matt Nelson's wine and liquor store, and that was a rageathon to the highest order. But I will leave out some of the details.
Nelson Riddles, we'll keep that to ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
Can't tell everything here online or on the Lydia and Spin. Well, what else, Tim Dahl? I'm very excited about our next guest. He helps us with our touring. His music is outrageous. He performs with all types of people, and we're to talk about Joey Killingsworth and the George Jonestown Massacre.
Yes.
Which followed the Brian Jonestown Massacre last week. So once again, it's coming to the end of the year. This is not about to stop, and here we go. The Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and all the guests that are stubborn, relentless, independent, and will not motherfucking stop. This is the Lydia and Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and I'm very happy to present, well, first of all, is the best name I've ever heard in my life, Bobby Joe Killingsworth, also known as Joecephus, of the George Jonestown Massacre, which is interesting because we just had the Brian Jonestown Massacre last week.
Yes.
Now, not only is Joey Killingsworth mine and others' best booking agent ever, just in case, but has been rocking in the free world with, I don't think he started out as raunchy as you got. Started drumming with your dad's band. Now, what? At 15, drumming?
Yep. Like my first show was playing drums for Jumpin' Gene Simmons, who had the hit song Haunted House.
Okay. All right.
Somebody else in that routine, though, was impregnated by Jerry Lee. Is that right?
Yep. Jerry Lee, one of his wives. Yep. I backed her on some songs. And my dad, he was on TV from like 68 to the middle of the 90s. So I got to play drums. He was on a show called Eddie Bond Show, who's a rockabilly legend. Called
Bobby Bojack Killingsworth.
Yep.
Second best name.
His cousin Bojack on there, and they had a show from 68 to the 90s.
Hang on, Tim, sorry. Yeah. I was just cruising the old Ed Sullivan shows today, and Jerry Lee Lewis was on, and he was, of course, amazing. I had the privilege of seeing him once. He was just so radical in so many ways.
My dad's played with him before.
Yeah, I'm sure he has. I mean, so the thing is, Memphis, obviously, let's say the capital of rock and roll. I'll give it that, right? It's amazing that even when these people became superstars, they stayed there, or some of them did. And so to some degree, it was still like an industry city. Maybe not as big as Nashville is, but it still was home to all this. Was your dad born there, or did he go there to be a musician?
He was born in Adamsville, which is maybe like 2 hours outside of Memphis.
Okay.
But have you ever seen the Walking Tall movies, the Biafra Pusser and all that? He introduced Biafra Pusser to Eddie Bond, who made albums about him that led to the movies.
Okay. All right.
It's wild little history, but when they had the Eddie Bond show going, they'd have Ernest Tubb and Webb Pierce and all the country stars of the day on those shows.
So you really grew up on all that country, early rock and roll and country stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Dad. Now, how do you even allow you to start playing? First of all, the drums, I'm always amazed when anybody's parents lets them play the drums, because you got to practice, and they're loud.
There was always drums and guitars around the house. So when I was 11, I started playing guitar and messing with the drums. And then he was trying to get me into country, but I didn't like all the Barbara Mandrell and all the stuff I was hearing. So I didn't come back to country to the 90s till I started digging into Johnny Cash and Paycheck and Haggard, all that stuff.
Right. Because actually I have heard and I have witnessed the sound you have been called the Joecephus and the George Jonestown Massacre, a cross between Motorhead and Merle Haggard, and I find that a pretty apt description. Now, so let's just keep going with the 15-year-old on drums, guitars around the house. How long were you playing with your dad? And what that was like rockabilly, right?
I just kind of filled in with him a little bit. I didn't really start with him till like maybe 99. I started playing with Eddie Bond and him, doing shows for like maybe 10 years on drums. They're both in the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, so I get to go play the Carl Perkins Arena with them, and we were doing shows with Original Comets and Ace Cannon and all those kind of cats.
All right, cool.
But you had the rock in your blood.
Yeah, I was always playing out and just doing my thing, and he'd come home going, "When you gonna come play with me in a band?" I'm like, "I got free beer. I'm not selling out." And he's like, "Well, I got 100 for 30 minutes."
When you did start your first band, and what was that called? What was that all about?
I had a band, just a couple bands during the 90s. Then we had a band called Grindle Crane that would kind of play out. But my trajectory is weird because while my friends were all touring, up till I was 33, we were always looking for singers, and till my dad said, if you get tired of looking for a singer, just quit it, sing. You can fire whoever you want. And so up to 15 to 33, I put out one 8-song cassette and another 4-song EP. And from 33 to 53 now, I've put out with the Joecephus and the George Jonestown Massacre, maybe 11 records, 2 with a stoner rock band called Super Witch. I got a post-punk band that does, we've done some live scoring of movies like Haxon and stuff like that. Just recorded in Joshua Tree soundscapes with Robbie Robb at First World. We did 6 30-minute soundscapes. We're about to edit to another record. So, and working on 3 records now.
Let's just talk about First World for a minute, because that's a pretty amazing place in Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
All sculpted by the one guy that Bobby, who runs it. And Tim and I have done that. I've done that before. That place is pretty special, as is Joshua Tree. Now, this is only, you're talking about before you diversified and went into these tribute records, which are amazing. I mean, just the scope of the people you've convinced to be on them, all for charities. And was the first one that you did 5 minutes till, was it Johnny Cash?
Arkansas, the Mutants of the Monster.
Oh, well, okay. Now hang on a second. The first one you did was Mutants of the Monster, tribute to Black Oak, Arkansas, which, I know when I was growing up watching Midnight Special and Rock Concert and Jim Dandy would come on in those white tight pants. I wasn't into that kind of country rock as I got into it when I was older, just like you, I guess. Well, there was something about him, I guess, just those tight white pants. But so what made you just,
so effective that David Lee Roth stole the image. So effective that David Lee Roth.
They actually used to, Van Halen would come to the Whiskey and actually ask to film them.
We asked to film Black Oak, Arkansas.
Right. And Dave got a lot of the stage moves from him. And at one point, I guess they were having issues, the label with Black Oak, and they got mad at Black Oak or something. And apparently one manager was like, hey, fuck it. I know a younger band with a younger Jim Dandy. We're just going to sign them and sign Van Halen.
Well, Sylvia Black and I have covered, Ain't Talking About Love, a much better version. I never did like Van Halen. Tim's a big fan.
I like him. Well, some Van Halen. I'm not into Van Halen. I'm not into Van Hagar.
I can't say
fair warning, women and children first.
Sure.
Yeah. I can't say I was a fan of Black Oak, Arkansas, but he did have a look. And I do love cock rock. I do even love country rock. And that just brings me back to you. So what made you, first of all, tell us a story about your Black Oak, Arkansas obsession, that you were opening for them? What was the story?
I started booking them. And then I started filling on guitar for touring with them for like maybe 18, 19 shows.
Okay.
So we've had a weird trajectory where once we started doing all this stuff, we backed Shooter Jennings. I've got to play with Waylon Jennings' band before.
Oh, amazing.
Playing guitar with Black Oak. Recently, we've been touring with the 80s metal guy Thor, backing him. And we just did the Whiskey with him in March, and Cherie Curry came sang with us. And it's a weird little trajectory for our weird little band.
Well, and Cherie Curry, I mean, we're going to get around to all the people that you have coerced, seduced, and done good for with your tribute records, which your band backstage does most of the music, occasional guest musician, but it is fucking stellar shit, my friend. I mean,
it's kind of like the pig face. We're kind of got the idea for the band because it's a Joecephus and the George Jonestown Massacre is a wacky fucking name, but it's also more of a collective, kind of like Pigface, where for everything we do, touring to recording, I bring in the right cats that'll make it perfect.
And anyone that was in the periphery of George Jones himself?
Excuse me, I got to get the right
No,
name.
unfortunately, no.
What'd you say, Tim?
I was just wondering if anyone in basically the periphery of George Jones' career, have they ever been involved in any of this? But I mean, there's so many people. Lydia, you're muted.
Lydia? I'm what?
I'm
right here.
You're muted for a second. I mean, George Jones worked with so many people, so maybe you don't even know that. I mean,
see, I love George Jones, so yeah. When the name came out, it just what started it all off is I had a job I hated, and I got a shit review, and I wrote a song just going off on the boss, and I used that name basically just like, well, because I like the Butthole Surfers and kind of wacky names. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make a weird name, do this one little weird song. But local radio started playing it for 7 weeks in a row every morning.
Whoa!
What was
nice.
that called? What was that song?
And it's to the point where people from where I worked at were calling in requesting it all the time. And then the boss called me in the office and he's like, look, I want to be mad at you, but the song's funny. And I'm just talking about he will wash balls to get ahead of the career. I told the time frame of we're working there. But then
so this is your take this job and shove it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it still does more than any song I've ever recorded with any of the Alice Coopers or the guests. That song still on Spotify, whatever, keeps eking its way to the top.
Well done, brother. Well done.
It's just a silly, bad song. It's a novelty. But so if people, I'm booking gigs for us, the first thing they hear is that song. They're like, well, you're a country band. But I'm like, yeah, but we can go play with Joecephus. We play with David Allan Coe. We play with Johnny Winter and all the heavy bands. So we can do all this.
And David Allan Coe wrote "Take This Job and Shove It." Actually,
yeah.
Yep. What's interesting, I covered, this was the hardest song I ever covered, and I do love covers, was Red, White, and Pink Slip Blues. Do you know this song? Hank Williams Jr. covered it, but he didn't write it.
Yeah.
It was the hardest song. I don't know, because his version is so good, and I had to kind of deconstruct it. I'm like, but the message again, it's kind of like Take This Job and Shove It. I mean, it's just like, factories are closing down. I paid my dues, and what the fuck? I got nothing left. There we go.
Right.
And what's interesting is you started liking country a little. I started liking it a lot later and doing kind of some country stuff with Cypress Grove. But it's interesting because you know that some rock people do like country, but you never think that people that really like country are into scuzz rock like you are, like Butthole Surfers. You're into Jello Biafra. You're into Tex Perkins. You're into all the freaking weirdos. And that's usually all of those weirdos are into some kind of country. But you never hear Dolly Parton going, "Oh yeah, the last time I saw the Butthole Surfers."
Well, her husband's a big rock fan, and what's interesting because you have Hank Williams Jr., Hank Williams III, who goes rock and roll.
Third is what got me into country, hearing him and him covering, him doing all the covers. He would do his tribute part of the show to his heroes, and I was like, oh. I knew about Johnny Cash later. I didn't know Cocaine Blues and Sound of Laughter and 5 Minutes to Live and the Killing songs. And then I dug right back into the history. It's like, oh, that's the good stuff.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs from a little bit later than that period, but in the same vein of the subjects you just mentioned, is Town Van Zandt, Waiting Around to Die. That's just one of my favorites.
Wasn't it?
What?
Was that the first song he wrote?
Ever?
I've heard
his first title, I guess.
Well,
so first one, that's gold.
I mean, going back to country folk being into rock and roll, I know because there's a podcast, David Allan Coe's son has that podcast, and he's into all types of noise rock.
Hey, Tyler, yeah, he's a great dude.
Yeah, he's into all that stuff. Is Shooter Jennings really into rock and roll? Would you say?
Shooter's into everything from Skinny Puppy. He's like, when he started doing rock, people were like, "Well, your dad's rolling over in the grave," and he's like, you don't know what the fuck my dad likes. My dad would listen to White Zombie with me, and they made this kind of industrial record.
Okay, Joey Killingsworth, I'm holding your tail to this. You better find me one of those country singers to do a duet with, because I do have a bit of country in me.
That would be a Lydia Lunch kind of Tammy Wynette, George Jones kind of duo. Awesome. That we got to do that. That would be awesome. That would be amazing, actually.
I mean, I can do it. I mean, I'm deep country. I can't tell where I'm from or where I'm going, but I got a little bit of everything in me. That's
you know, it's kind of interesting with a lot of the studios going out of business and the computer kind of taking over a lot of music jobs. I know. I remember one day I was thinking, where did all these 80s and 70s shredder kids go? I mean, you go to any town and you find some metalhead white trash guy who could shred on guitar. I was like, where did they all go? And a lot of them actually ended up moving to Nashville because there was just less and less work. And in Nashville, you could, well, it's harder than ever there too, but you can still play guitar for a living there. Where, I mean, that's an endangered species. But yeah. Anyway.
How'd you first get into all the weird music? Like, okay, you're doing the rockabilly thing. You're playing with Dad. You're surrounded by country music. You're in Memphis.
I kind of would do that, and I was into weird stuff all in the late '80s because I'd hear Butthole Surfers and everything like that, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is great." And Ed Hall and all the trance label out of Texas, that all kind of reeled me in. And when I started the Joecephus thing, it was kind of based on the Butthole Surfers, how there's no certain style.
Right. No, because you have a lot of different styles and you have different characters in it occasionally. And then your tribute records, which we'll get into in a minute, have so many different types of people on it. And it's really an accomplishment because the band always, that is your band, is always freaking killing it.
Thank you, because I loved everything from like your Jimmy Page and your Eddie Van Halen's, but I love Roland Howard, I love Paul Leary, Gary Chester from Ed Hall, all those. That was the other wave for me where I was like, oh.
Now, you know, I asked Paul Leary to be in Retrovirus, but he said, I think I'll just wait. I think I'll just sit around and collect checks. I'm like, thanks, asshole, whatever. I love Paul Leary.
Wine money coming in.
And I tried to tell him, I'm the anti-Gibby Haynes. There's no problem working with me, my friend, but couldn't convince him. Well, and Retrovirus is
so Joey, here's the question, and there's no right or wrong answer, but we're talking about the marriage between rock and country. What do you think about the newer marriage of country rap? That's a tough one for you, I guess.
See, I love all the Wu-Tang and ODB and all that kind of rap, but with the new cut that we're no.
Wait a minute. What about? I'm going to tell you where I think the country rap started was with Everlast of House of Pain's two records, White Trash Beautiful, which was great. I mean, those were pretty special records he did. Eat at Whitey Ford's. I really like those records because they're a little bit country. They're kind of acoustic. He just had a heart attack at 33. They're sexy. Videos are great. I think that's where it all kind of started. I will tell you later. I'm not going to reveal who my favorite, but hugely popular from Tennessee rap, rock, and ballad artist is. I'm just not giving it away. No.
That's fine. Were there any legends like a Willie Nelson with like almost like with a gun to their head by the industry? Like, were any of these legends forced rap ever? I'm wondering. There's deep cuts everywhere, and you're like, oh no, they should have done that.
Snoop and Willie been doing songs together, but they just seem to get high and go, well, hey, let's just go record.
Right?
Willie
Snoop Dogg,
roll me up, smoke me when I die.
Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, and what's her name? The Martha Stewart. The marriage we never would have expected, but it's what brings them together.
Not on the bingo part.
What about Willie Nelson and Orville Peck? It's not rap, but Gay Cowboy song. That was kind of adventurous. That came out recently. Yeah. When you're 90, you should be able to do anything you got. At any age, you should be able to do anything you goddamn want.
Does Willie have kids? We're talking about all these country stars.
Yeah, he's got Lucas Nelson and a couple sons. Because I always try to get Willie on a track, but the closest I've got was Mickey Raphael. He plays on a couple of our records. He's a harp player who's also, I say he's slumming when he's with us because he also plays, with Ray Charles and everybody.
Willie Nelson still tours. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
Well, look, you know how it is, Tim. It's in your blood. All you can do is do what you do. You got it. We're road dogs. He's a road dog of the highest order. And face it, at 90, we might have no choice either. We might be on the road. It might be murderous again and again and again and again.
I mean,
still murderous after all these years. So what made you decide to do these tribute records then? I mean, was it to offset these charities? And so the first one you did was the Mutants of the Monster, which was the Black Oak, Arkansas. Did that go to charity or was that just
all that went to a Memphis animal rescue? The weird part of it is I started booking Black Oak, and then the goal was they're locked into Southern rock, of course. But the reality is, in the 70s, they're touring doing shows at King Crimson, Kiss is open for them, Springsteen the show, Cheech and Chong open, even comedians jump buses at their show. This show was Zappa. They were on the, I think, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath European tour.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they were touring with Black Sabbath, but then they suddenly got locked into the country rock or the,
pigeonholed. Yeah.
So my goal was to try to. I started hearing videos of Keith Morris and Greg Ginn, them kind of talk about Black Oak, how they would listen to Black Oak back in the day.
Just like, so weird.
And there's more bands that loved it because at the time when it came out, the first couple albums were just so weird that I was like, well, I'm going to try to help them reach that crowd because any radio station playing the Judas Priest and Thin Lizzy, why not they not playing their heavier stuff, the Black Oak stuff? So yeah. I reached out to Jim and I recorded a couple of songs, Hot Rod and Favor of My Mind. And we paid Jim like, hey, you met him. I started booking with him. You want to do a song with us? Pick one. He picked Favor of My Mind. So we kind of do a duet on there. I have one song left over and I reached out to Shooter Jennings because he started really promoting us. So hey man, I'll help you out. So he sang Hot Rod with us. No labels were interested whatsoever. And then we played in Austin, Texas with opening for Black Oak. Before I started playing guitar with him. And one of Greg Ginn's buddies with the show, and he's like, man, we used to smoke weed, me and Greg Ginn, and talk about Black Flag, Arkansas.
Oh,
yeah, okay. So then I reached out to Greg when he was all on Facebook back around 2010, 2011. I'm like, sure. I got these songs. I want to do a Black Oak tribute album. Would you play guitar if I get Ricky Lee from Black Oak? There's the Black Flag, Arkansas right there. And Greg Ginn got on board. And my whole goal doing this was just to get Greg Ginn on one of my records.
Well, and then you also had Paul Leary on that. You had a lot of people, Jello, Biafra, now and Pound Hammer.
That, I got Greg, and then I think the next couple Jeff Clayton from Anti-Scene came on board, and then Nashville Pussy had a day off of their 22-day tour, and Ryder and Blaine came, and then once I started getting them, I started being able to get more guests, and then Jello and members of Merciful Fate and Willie Nelson's band and Kyle Turley from the New Orleans Saints, and
that's what makes it so great is you're bringing new life to these, these legends really that had some influence, still have influence, and bringing it to a new market. So the first charity was to Animal Rescue. Then you said
Memphis Animal Rescue. A guy had jumped out. Somebody had threw a pit bull out on Interstate I-240 in Memphis on the road, and this guy named Mario stopped traffic to save the dog and started a rescue. And so we're like, Ricky Lee and Greg were all into animals. I am too. So I'm like, let's just give all the money to this animal rescue. All the profits of sales, boom, going to them.
Cool.
And do you have any animals?
Took 6 years to put the record together and then no labels were interested. Like a couple labels wants to do Kickstarters. We're talking Alternative Tentacles and all these people. And right when we're about to give up and go, let's just say, fuck it, just put it out ourselves. Jeff Pincus is like, hey man, my buddy from the Hickoids, Jeff Smith has a label called Saucetex. He might be into it. And right at the last moment, he agreed to put it out.
Cool.
And various other things that you've done on the tribute. So that was the first, 6 years in the making. Oh, God, that's painful. So that
with that many collaborators, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it took like a year to get Jello's track, I think. And it was just a process. Anytime we thought we were wrapping up, somebody else was coming on board and like, well, shit, we got to get them.
Yep. And go ahead. How's Greg's performance on that?
I'll send you links, man.
Please do.
Again, just
hey, it's on Bandcamp. Go ahead.
And with these songs, some of them will go traditional, and some we just mutate it and do our own style. And the song we did with Jim Dandy, "Favor of My Mind," before I got in the band, the guitar player was like, "Hey, man, we kind of like the version you did better, so we kind of started playing it your way."
That's really funny. I mean, the thing about Greg's playing, and some extreme metal guitar players have the same kind of philosophy, even though it sounds different. I always found it funny and creative when you come out with all the guns out immediately, and then you run out of ideas, and then you kind of just like you end the solo before it even ends, and it's just chaos. The metal guys will just use a lot of whammy bar or something, but Greg always did that, and I was like, that's so funny. It's just awesome. But,
even has a theremin part in it too.
Oh, okay. Right.
The song we did with him is called "When Electricity Came to Arkansas," and it's this weird instrumental that has this chanting and all this stuff. And it's the song actually the preachers used to play backwards and say Jim was saying Satan backwards and all that. So it's that song that Jeff
Now we say it forward. Now we just say it's Satan. We just say it forward. So then was the Johnny Cash tribute next?
Yeah, through playing with Eddie Bond and my dad, I became friends with W.S. Holland, who was Johnny's OG drummer, who played on the Folsom and San Quentin albums, the TV shows.
How old was he when you started?
70 something. But
Yeah,
everybody done the Johnny Cash tribute voice with him. And one time we did a show, and I was like, "Hey man, if I ever do a song, would you play a song with me?" And he's like, "Yeah, man," because we were doing shows together. And so I called him. I was like, "Hey man, I'm doing this record. I'm gonna give the money to FSHD Muscular Dystrophy because one of our friends has it. And would you play on a couple songs? Two questions. When, where?" So we brought him out to the studio, and he spent the day with us, just hanging out, telling us stories. Which the best is, he had these pictures he was showing us, and he goes, "Like, where's that?" He goes, "Oh, that's us in the White House." I'm like, "Well, what restaurant are you playing for?" He goes, "Oh shit, I don't remember. We played for a few of them." I was like, "Oh, that's the most rock and roll thing I'm going to hear."
Did you ever see White House live?
Can you imagine, just saying, as now imagine playing in the White House. I would be playing with some very dangerous instruments.
I forgot who all
guitar or drum.
Because them and Cash did played there a few times. He was saying this, and it's just like, oh my god! And there was one time I think Netflix had a special. They wanted Johnny to do some song, and he turned around and did another song that caused some conflict back then.
I can imagine him under Jimmy Carter being in the White House.
And then
there's that documentary that I saw on the airplane about Jimmy Carter and all his White House guests. Yeah, he had, I mean, huge range of from jazz to country to yeah. But
maybe Nixon too, because they were doing it for so long.
Nixon, which most people don't realize, was honestly he was the last musically educated president. So he would spend an hour.
Bill Clinton wasn't?
Well, Bill Clinton could mess around, but Nixon full on concert piano level. Like he would spend an hour.
You should have stuck to that instead of fucking
an hour.
The world.
Yeah, well, there you go. You spend an hour a day, and you go into the listening library and take out Beethoven scores and just listen and follow the scores.
You know
and he really knew about music.
I got to cut in, Tim, because now that I think that there are clowns in the White House, the clown I respect the most, who wrote 8,000 songs, Red Skeleton. Check it out on Wikipedia, and so many paintings. I'm just saying, he wrote a lot of songs. I say, there is now a clown show in the White House. Too bad Red Skeleton is dead, but we may need to resuscitate his career. I'm just saying, because the clowns are in the White House, which should be the big house, just proselytizing. But on your Johnny Cash tribute record, you also had Mick Harvey at the birthday party. And I know we'll get back to that in a minute. You're a big birthday party fan. Buzz Osborne, you had J.D. Pinkett's Butthole Surfers again. You had so many people on that one too. Now, birthday party, come on.
Yeah.
How great were they? And it's sad what has become of the last remaining member. But anyway, yeah.
Man, yeah, getting Mick to do a killing song with me, that was a big deal. And then WS, there was a couple songs I forgot. I think it was one called we did Sound of Laughter, ringing in my ears. And he's like, I don't even remember that song. And I played it to him. He goes, yeah, that's me. And when we did Long Black Veil, we all did kind of the traditional vibe, had Warren Ellis doing the fiddle. And then, but Buzz Osborne just goes evil voice with it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But WS, he's like, when we did Long Black Veil, he cut off the snare, put a towel over it, played it with his hands. And he's like, yeah, this is how I did the original version.
Wow, amazing.
And then usually anybody that sings with him rips the Cash voice, So I'm like, you're not going to know who these people are. It's crazy music, but just trust me. He goes, hey, it's no problem. And I was glad that before I passed, I got to send him pictures of all the reviews going, do we need another Johnny Cash tribute? Apparently we do. They didn't do the same exact thing everybody else does. They did obscure, weird songs. And then I'm sending him pictures of just the album just in shelves at record stores in Germany and all these places around the world. And
let's just, on the subject of Johnny Cash, one of the best things he did before he died, who knew? And here's going back to, does country understand alt? Doing Hurt by I mean, that is such a great song and such a great version of it. It's just so painfully beautiful. And one of my favorite, not exactly country, but borders that you've also had on the MC5 tribute, Call Me Animal, Tex Perkins of the Beast of Bourbon, one of my favorite bands. Tex Perkins is just stellar. I love
His manager Vera just sent me their new record. They did. The Beast did.
Oh, I have to hear it because I was
It's coming out tomorrow, I think, this week. Because I was trying to help them find a U.S. label for it. And they sent it to me. It's good. I love Beast of Bourbon. And then I think we're going to try to get Tex on these next couple records too.
I covered once with Roland Howard when the Shotgun Wedding did Australia. Hard for you.
Oh,
Yeah, I think about you sometimes, and I go to call you up on the telephone. And I was hanging out with Tex in Australia last year, and it was a damn good time. Now, Call Me Animal, tribute to MC5. You also played with MC50, the 50th anniversary with Wayne Kramer while he was still on this planet. How did that come about?
well, after the Johnny Cash thing came out, we also did a tribute to Nazareth too. We did the full Hair of the Dog album, and basically just got drunk one day and called my studio guy, Dick Ledoux, Flash producer on these records. I was like, I got an idea. Hair of the Dog in its entirety. He's like, all right. I was like, I've been drinking. It sounds like a good idea. He's like, well, whatever. And then I was talking to Ryder from Nashville Pussy, and I just kind of threw out the idea. And my philosophy is anytime I have a guest lined up, I got an album going. And right out the gate, she goes, that's one of the few records I have on my iPod. I call Miss Misery. Blaine calls Hair of the Dog. Like, I call my producer, Dick Ledoux, like, man, we got two guests. We got an album. We're doing the whole damn record.
Oh, awesome.
And then we got like Neil from Clutch on there, Manny from Nazareth.
It's such a wide web.
I only know one Nazareth song, I have to say, because that was in a period when whatever I was doing, because when did that, was that album like 73, 75, Nazareth?
Somewhere around there, because the guitar player Manny produced it, and I guess Guns N' Roses loved the production so much, they actually asked him to do Appetite for Destruction, and he did the original demos.
Okay. Because, at that period, 73, 75, I mean, I was into, David Bowie. I was into glam. I was into Berlin, the album by Lou Reed. I was disavowing my affection for bands that then I did grow to either cover, hate, love, or whatever. So Nazareth, did they have Hold Your Head Up? Was that one of their songs?
That's not them. They did Miss Misery, Hair.
That was Argent, right? Argent did that song.
That's Foreigner, I think.
No, don't even tell me I know a Foreigner song.
Well, you're both from Rochester, you and Lou Graham. I mean,
hey, let me learn about
you
that
connect.
I don't know any Nazareth songs, I must admit, but I will check your Nazareth cover album.
Any of the tributes we do, we kind of get somebody associated or in the mix of the original band usually. Right. So when we had Manny, he did a solo with us, and I was like, look, we did this weird ass version of Please Don't Judas Me. Please play on this too. And then he heard, he goes, it sounds like a bar band. I don't like it. Let me send you this version I did. It sounds like Tool. And he sent it to me, and it did not
sounds like what? Sounds like
Tool.
And I was like, it don't sound like
it doesn't though.
I know. Tool. No, it don't. And I was kind of bummed out about that. And I happened to be talking to Neil from Clutch, and I sent it to him. He goes, I fucking love it. I'm on it. I'll do it. And then he sent backing vocals and all these tracks, and that thing kind of blew up for us.
Oh, cool.
What was the charity for the Nazareth?
We did FSHD muscular dystrophy research again, because our friend Janelle Spicer, she had it before she passed away, and we would always play benefits for her. And we're like, we did the 5 Minutes to Live and donated the money to that. But then after she passed, we're like, we're doing one more for her and donate to that charity.
Beautiful. All right. Let me ask you, as a bass player, did you ever play with Duck Dunn?
Man, I'd love to have Duck Dunn, and I was trying to get the guitar player from Stax, Steve Cropper. That's the one I really want. I want him, and I want Jody from Big Star.
Was Duck Dunn living in Memphis to the end of his life?
I so, because a lot of them cats, they're still stay around. A lot of Isaac Hayes' band still lives here.
Sure. Okay.
And Steve Cropper's the one I really just love still. And Duck Dunn, I missed the chance, but.
Well, yeah, and he passed away about 10 years ago.
I'd love to get Jody, like I say, from Big Star. That's another wish list biggie.
Not to digress, and maybe you
Why
don't
not?
but not, and maybe you don't even like barbecue. But what's the best barbecue in Memphis?
Central Barbecue.
All right, and it's famous for its ribs, I guess, right?
And also, like Sonic Youth love Pains. They did a big thing on their record.
Oh, okay.
Pains.
All right. Okay.
Well, I can see Thurston Moore's ribs from here, and he needs to put a few more ribs in his mouth. I think that boy is a long, tall drink of water. Cute as ever, I must say, and talented.
When you were talking about birthday party, we were talking about the MC50 show. We opened for him in Nashville, I wore a birthday party shirt. And a lot of things I think that helps me get the guests on the tribute records is I don't kind of ask them about their stuff or their business. So eventually they might kind of start telling me stuff. But I had a birthday party shirt on that night, and
was it one of the Big Daddy Ed Roth, like the
I did not have Junkyard. I had just the little weird little logo guy.
Okay.
I had that on, and Billy Gould, Faith No More, was playing bass.
Yep.
Like,
Okay.
oh man, birthday party. So we sit there talking about birthday party. Brendan from Fugazi was the drummer. He's like, hey man, birthday party. So we just sit there talk birthday party. Kim Thale comes walking by.
Of Soundgarden.
Yeah, I was like, well, what do you know about that? He goes, oh man, I know all about that. So that's all we talked about. And it was right after Chris Cornell passed. I didn't mention Chris. I didn't mention Soundgarden. All we talked about was birthday party.
He's a nice guy, Kim. I met him once. He was a very nice guy, I have to say.
He's a great dude. And then I was like, hey, here's our tribute records. He goes, hey, I want one of those original albums you got out there of your own stuff where you're ripping off the Van Halen cover. I went, sure, we'll get you some records and stuff. And then on the way home from the show, me and my buddy Rudy Forrester, who plays with me now in the band, I was like, I bet if I do an MC5 tribute, I might be able to get Kim. And I'll give all the money to Jail Guitar Doors, Wayne's charity. And
which is Guitars for Prisoners, I mean, who are people who are incarcerated.
And then Brendan put me in touch and forwarded my email to Kim Thale, which kicked that whole thing off.
Cool.
Cool. Because let's talk about that album for a minute. Call Me Animal, the tribute to the MC5. Cherry Curry, Mike Watt, Jay Massick, I mean Tex Perkins, J.G. Thurwell, Eugene Robinson, Kim Thale, Alice Cooper. Now wait a minute, Alice Cooper. Now,
put on the brakes.
That was the one that was the big coup for me. That was the one I never. When I was like 12 or 13, my parents left me to stay at my cousin's while they went out somewhere, and he played me Nazareth's Hair of the Dog and Alice Cooper Greatest Hits. And I got to tell him later, like, hey, man, I've got to work with both of those, and you played them to me when I was a wee lad.
I am a huge Alice Cooper until $1 Billion Babies. As a matter of fact, I was just bombarding Tim Dahl with some Alice Cooper the other night
that original
that he might not have been
perfect.
completely familiar with. Pardon me?
The original lineup albums is so perfect.
We had Dennis Dunaway on the show. And when he told me he doesn't own any of the royalties and he wrote 10 of the top best songs to $1 Billion Babies, I almost cried. I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, that's brutal.
Early Alice Cooper was just, I mean, and Bob Ezrin, what a great producer. That's just concept rock of the highest order. But so I read that. So you ask Alice to do one of the MC5 songs, and he sends like a million different disparate parts that you got to piece together. I mean, he sounds great. Whoever put it together, they didn't master.
This dude is a wizard, and he puts all the stuff together. But yeah, there's 42 tracks, backing vocals.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's a thing.
We're like, hey, okay, it took us a year to get it. They sent us everything they had. We're like, see, I originally was trying to get him. I was thinking the old school Alice. I wanted him on Human Being Lawnmower or Skunk or something crazy, but he picked that. And at first we thought he'd do Ramblin' Rose, but then he wanted Shakin' Street. And
I mean, he sounds good on it, I have to say. I mean, everybody sounds great on that. It's a great tribute to the MC5.
And then Brother Wayne on the same track with Jello, that was just gold. And so that was just amazing. And then after it came out, I just kind of looked at Facebook one day, and then Wayne's on there with a picture of the record, just hyping it up. And I was just blocked because the one thing that got me, because he goes, there's a bunch of famous people and big names. He goes, but the people played their asses off. And that was, to me, the biggie. Like, okay, he got that. We really put a lot of work into this thing.
I was very happy to be invited on that one. As a matter of fact, I think you have invited me onto your upcoming next tribute record. Yes. Correct me if I am right.
And two I got you on board for.
Tell me about it. Tell me about
it. I am down to the down.
We're working on 3 at the moment. We're doing Joe Walsh covering like Joe and all that, but then we got Lydia.
I haven't had enough coke blown up my ass to be on a Joe Walsh album because much as I love Stevie Nicks' new pro-abortion song, I just say she was in love with him. I'm not. Go ahead.
We got Lydia on the Iggy Pop tribute and our tribute to Texas.
All right. Oh yeah, I think you're telling me about your tribute. Texas. But
let's go back. Hang on, Tim. Go back to the Iggy Pop because I am covering because I like Iggy first 3 records. I kind of fell off song here and there, but I have to say the Kill City EP, which I am very fond of, and Johanna, which I will be doing, one of my favorite Iggy Pop James Williamson songs. I am so happy to be allowed to put my tongue all over that.
And we're doing it all the way up to Kill City. All the tracks are strictly up to Kill City.
I understand completely.
And I appreciate you doing this because you were the one guest I was nervous to ask to be on any of these records.
But
Whoa.
Hang on now, son. Wait, back it up. Wait. Bobby Joe Killingsworth, favorite name around. My booking agent, man of many hats. Why were you afraid to? You know me. Why were you afraid to ask me?
Anybody else I'd always ask them. Then later they go, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a booking agent." And they're like, and then that would lead to me booking. So you were the first person I booked that I asked. So I was like, "Well, she don't know what I do." So I might be like, "Oh God,
I am an investigative reporter, honey. Oh, I know what you do. I know what your daddy did. And I know what Carrie Lewis did, got impregnated by your. I'm just saying. Oh, I'm a forensic fanatic. I check everything. I even have a strand of your hair. I've been DNA.
Whoa.
Well, you got enough to give some up, son. Come on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was like, well, I've never asked somebody that I'm actually already booking. I don't want to be that guy because I know people. Like I'm around Shooter, and I've seen people get weird as shit, trying to get to him. And
what about if you're weird to begin with, and then you just go, "Of course, yes, I wanted to." And that's the thing. You should never be shy to ask me anything because there's only two answers: yes or no. Ain't no biggie.
That's what I figured. So I asked, I was like, "Oh, great, okay." I turned it in quick as fuck. Did not take me 32, 62, 42 Alice Cooper tracks. It took me one take. Goodbye, sent it off. It's done. Hello. Alice, get a lesson. Yeah, that was such a great track, too. I love that track.
Joey, I remember we were talking.
I want you so bad. Oh, I do. Yeah, no, that's kind of desperate.
Joey, we were talking when we were on the phone once, I think this summer. And that's when you were telling me about this tribute to Texas record you're about to make. And of course, as Beethoven said, never take advice, but it would be a kind of left field choice to put in an Ornette Coleman cover in the middle of that thing because he's from Texas. I'd be like, what? But because
we got one guy we got Gary Floyd before he passed away.
Okay.
And we did a Time of the Preacher, Willie Nelson with him. With Scott Ayers from Paintings doing the steel solo. So it was the last thing he recorded before he passed. And we just lined up. We got some of the guests. I don't want to throw too much away, but
don't give it all away. But I'm kind of.
We just now got Mike Knight from I Hate God on board. We got David Yao on board.
He wants to be on board. I know he does.
David Yao. Everyone thinks about him being associated with Chicago, but he's from Texas, right? Yep. And he's playing in Brooklyn tonight, actually. But
oh, nice.
Oh, motherfucker, is he? Well, we'll talk about that later. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
We got Brett from Scratch Ass is going to be there on it, so we're kind of building up and just kind of basically we go play in March. We do Texas every year for our label Soft Sticks Records. It's put on by Jeff Smith from the Hickoys. He has Soft Sticks Records, but basically we go play every year. His showcases he does every March, and we're driving home and we seen a friend of ours. She had a School of Rock, high voltage school to help kids with music, but they were looking for money to get instruments, cases, microphone stands, stuff like that. So on our way home, we're like, we're already working on a couple records. Let's just do one more. We'll give all the money to them to help those kids get some guitar cases and whatever they're going to use it for.
Cool.
Well, she has no idea that we're doing this shit, so I guess you'll hear it on here.
Who else do you do booking for? I mean, what's great about you booking, whatever shows you get from me, Murderous Scan, Big Sexy Noise Review, whatever. What's great is you tour. Unlike most booking agents who sit in their fucking armchair and have no idea what the trajectory of doing a tour is, because you're on the road a lot. And that's what makes it so absolutely fantastic for us road dogs. Who else are you booking right now if you want to give your secrets away?
I just booked Tim. I just booked Tim.
Me and Calabata, which I'm very much appreciative of. That was awesome. It was a great experience. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Helping with the next Murderous Again tour with me, Tim Dolan, Matt Nelson. Yeah,
working on that at this moment. I also booked JD Pincus, from the Butthole Surfers.
Yep.
Now booked the Hickoys, Anti-Scene. How am I blanking out on all this now? The 80s metal guy Thor. But we tour back. We tour with him because one day he would always fly into shows, his whole band. And I was like, hey, man, we're going to do a West Coast tour. and you always need backline since your whole band's flying around. Why don't you just kind of, we'll jump on some dates, we'll book a tour, you fly wherever. He goes, well, shit, why don't we just Chuck Berry it and you learn our set and I'll just come sing with you guys. And next thing you know, we're at the Whiskey A Go Go playing with him. And
fun.
Like that, playing some 80s metal, get the shred.
It's amazing that the Whiskey A Go Go still goes because, look, the history is unbelievable. And let's go back to mentioning Alice Cooper opening for the Doors. Hello. Yeah. Amazing.
And a lot of times you pay for play there now, which is so sad.
What's that? You have to pay to play?
The local band, no, not us, but for the local bands, it's pay to play there. Sell the tickets. Because we played with Thor in 2020, right when COVID hit. We were the last show to play the Whiskey before it closed. We had to make the sad trip back to Memphis for 3 days, but we did the Viper Room on our own, and we backed Thor, and they had other local openers. And this time we're like, it's a deal breaker. We're going to open for Thor, and we're going to play with Thor. And they were like, well, no,
and we're not paying to play, motherfuckers. Hello.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm playing the Whiskey with my own shit. And then he was happy because when we did it, we did our own shit, and we brought out Neil Turbin from Anthrax to come out and sing a couple songs with us. We did Believe in My Soul, the Ray Charles song.
All right.
Cherie to do Ramblin' Rose and then Cherry Bomb to end it. And then we stayed on stage, took a break, and then back Thor for his 50th anniversary in rock show.
Is there anybody that you had to?
No, I guess it's not all pay to play, but a house sound guy gets his cut every night, and those prices go up. But the Whiskey, what are they actually asking the band to pay? Do you know?
They make the local sell tickets if you're opening. And then you get to keep a couple bucks, I guess, from the ticket, but they give you tickets to go sell.
Oh,
sucks, whatever. But look, there's all kinds of finagling you have to do. Look, clubs have got to make the money to keep it open when they have door people, they have bartenders, but they're also making the bar money. But all kinds of clubs, they even have, depending on who's selling the tickets, how much the band is not getting from that, or how much they're actually taking before you even get a guarantee. It's all you got to be careful with all this crap.
That's what I told him too. I was like, we have one big guarantee with Thor, so we're just going to do our own thing for 30 minutes before this. So this ain't costing you any extra money.
There you go.
And Joey, you know my mantra. I got one night to make the money. You got 364 to make up what you lose.
Exactly.
That's right.
100.
Come on. Stop buying Starbucks. You want it or you don't. Now, who haven't you had that you want to have? Or is there anybody you've had so many guest people on these tribute records. Is there anybody you're shooting for that you're
I actually just got your record you did with the guitar player Monster Magnet, which I have not. I just got it yesterday, so I ain't had a chance to hear it yet.
Single, oh.
But I've been wanting to get Dave from Monster Magnet on a song. That's a go-to. David Jow, I was so stoked to finally get him on board. There's Ozzy.
Well, okay. Let me just do a little pimping. So hang on. You got the single that just came out.
Yes.
Out of Pittsburgh. That Phil Cavano of a Shrapnel, Blitzbeer, and Monster Magnet, who I've known since '76. Retrovirus played with Monster Magnet a year ago in Spain. I'm like, Phil, we've never done anything. And what he sent me was so unexpected because he's a grand metal guitar player and rock. Yeah. I call it Sunday morning hangover music. I did the vocals one take into the computer at 2:00 in the morning, improv. The guitar is like, and I forgot, Phil was really into Nico, the Velvet Underground, all kinds of music like we all are. So it's very unexpected. How did you get that single anyway?
I seen it listed on Facebook. I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. And it just arrived. I hadn't had a chance to check it.
You're good.
I'm going to listen to that tomorrow.
So who are some of your childhood favorite shredders on guitar?
The Jimmy Pages, the Eddie Van Halens, the usual. But then once I got like around 18, 19, and I really around 24, 25, that period is when I really discovered Paul Leary was a biggie.
Sure.
And then Roland Howard,
yeah,
Norm from Swans, anything kind of different, I kind of really gravitated to him.
Yeah, and we all, once we decide to sign up to do this music thing, if you're curious, that the rabbit hole, there's such a surplus of music, and this is what's good. We're never going to get through all of it. So if you're curious, you're going to keep on going. Were there any musicians?
Hang on a second, Tim. Joey, back to this, the Roland S. Howard. It was great that Mick Harvey put together, and I was able to do about 6 of these tributes to Roland S. Howard in Europe. And I have to say, when you hear 26 of his songs all in a row, I mean, I had to run out in tears at one point, and I'm doing some of the songs because they're so beautiful. And Teenage Snuff Film, still on YouTube, one of my favorite albums ever.
The catalog is awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah. Just were there any, and I do this sometimes, bands or musicians when you're younger that you kind of determine, I really don't like this, but then kind of reevaluated later in life and like, you know what, maybe there's something here that I was missing, and maybe I do like this. I mean, can you think of any of those that you kind of, or did you just kind of...
When I was in a band in my 20s, I never got Joy Division till later on. I was like, then it kind of clicked and went, oh, I get it. Then it really kind of hit me. I was like, okay.
Yeah, you know,
everybody, I love Joy Division.
I like Joy Division because my older brother was into it, and then I didn't like them. Now I like them again. I still hate New Order, and I stand by
I'm not a New Order guy.
That just sucks.
Yeah, but that question, Tim, I will answer, because like I hated a lot of just basic rock when I was, of course, into glam and into, you know, the Stooges or Velvet Underground or whatever. But then growing to, when you hear the lyrics, you see, that's why I did a cover album myself as well. The lyrics are so good, we don't remember them, we don't hear them, just blah, blah, blah to the radio. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I will cover Greg Allman, Bon motherfucking Jovi. Now, if only Bon Jovi would cover me the way Bruce Springsteen covered Suicide and gave them a retirement plan, I doubt it'll ever. I don't see it happening. Orphans by Bon Jovi, not coming anytime soon.
Well, I mean, and not only did Bruce Springsteen cover Suicide, he played it in the fucking Super Bowl halftime. And that was just a massive check that those guys got. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Well, and kind of the circle goes around, comes around. Now I'm covering Suicide, my first friends, on my European tours forever. So that kind of, I mean, whatever. Makes no sense, but it kind of does.
Yeah, with the guitar thing also, I like so many different styles. Like, we kind of have a little post-punk band that does this kind of weird kind of stuff, and I sent it to Shooter to check out. He's like, oh, that's cool. Why are you sending me this? I went, that's me, because I never would have thought, because I try to, if I do another band, I try to not just be the same guitar styles. Like, yeah, I can shred, but I also love the soundscapes and the weird shit, and I can lean it to whatever vibe. Sure. And that's kind of led with us backing all these other folks.
Yeah, you know, it's eclectic motherfucking hard rock and raunchy country tinged rock and roll weirdo, and I love you for it. Thank you very much.
Well, one thing, you know, you're obviously very versatile. Bass players, we are fortunate because we're in demand. We're forced to be versatile. Like we have so many wide experiences, and sometimes people will ask me like, well, what did you like doing the most? And I assume you agree with this. I always just say these are different satisfactions. And these different genres and these different styles and different experiences are just different satisfactions. And
I'd rather not sing. I'd rather just play guitar. That's my whole thing. I love it when I get to just play guitar with somebody. Like, we back Shooter Jennings, and before the show, he's like, I know we're both big fans of Maggot Brain and P-Funk, so let's just do a weird-ass jam. He goes, cool. Not care. So we did this big, long, weird jam at the end, and the crowd was like, we did not expect that from him. It's like, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but you do cut a good vocal on the songs, especially your own original stuff. I mean, they're great. I mean, sometimes you just gotta wear all the hats you can find.
If you want to do it, to just go on the road, just gotta do it, make it happen.
Yeah, do it myself. Exactly.
Have you ever considered asking George Clinton to contribute to one of your?
I would love to have George Clinton.
Can you imagine?
Tribute.
And speaking
what
of
about
Shooter,
a Parliament Punkadelic? Hang on, Parliament Punkadelic.
I just seen Shooter Jennings. He just did some recording with a Kid Funkadelic from Funkadelic.
Okay.
I was like, well, I gotta ask that guy to play on it.
Well, these guys and Bootsy too, they're all pretty accessible. And
Joey, I just did give you a $10 idea. Punkadelic.
That's a good idea.
10%, thank you very much. My charity, the Lydia Lunch Foundation. Hello. Always open for contributions, however you want to call it, whatever it is. I'm here for you now. Anyway, I'm very excited. I'm glad you have been on the show. Tim, anything else? We're going to wrap this little baby up here.
Well, I mean, we could talk about music for weeks. So we're right now I'm satisfied. I mean, it's cool. And I'm psyched to actually, well, I guess I'm not meeting you in person, but at least see you and have this extended conversation. appreciate that you could do this. It was cool.
We're going back and forth all the time anyway, because thank God he helps me take over the hat I would rather not wear, which is booking fucking ships. And it does help because you know the places. So with that, Simon, you could stop this recording, but I still want to talk to Joey for a minute.